I don't know what I need this for. What is the dot for? Speaking about creativity. Huh? So let me stand here then as a beginning. Over the past 10 years, I have been giving about 50 speeches per year. So that is 500 times about 100 people on the average in a speech. So 50,000 people I've given a message, and nothing has happened. So it must be about me, so because you're all so active and vibrant. But what I've been telling those people is, do you know, and you all know it, that 70%, some people have heard this before, I have not done anything either, that 70% of all the people that are working don't like their job. I've said this to managers, they didn't do anything, they were terrified, because I said, what are you doing, bunch of losers? You are managing these people. You know them. Those people, they stand in a traffic jam in the morning. You know them, your friends, maybe yourself. And people are they are really doing their best to go somewhere where they don't want to be. Their job. What a horrifying thought that the people who are still in school have to go into that process. So that is something that people don't do anything about. And I don't know why. Why is it that we let people come to a company and sit behind their desk and think that if they are there for 40 hours per week, that they work? Well, look at your employment contract, if you have one. Huh? You can be lucky if you don't have one. An employment contract, it always says that you have to be there, and it even mentions a spot for 40 hours per week. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows why. For 70% of all the people in the Netherlands, it doesn't matter at all when they start, if they at all are in the office, and sometimes what they do even. Can you imagine that? That we are still thinking that when people are sitting behind a computer, typing, that they are working. It is so old-fashioned. When I started my first job, it was a long time ago, ages, it was in Eindhoven, at Philips. Eh? Some of you have heard of the company. It was founded here. They even created this thing called Evaluon, Evaluon, or whatever you want to call it. It was Philips. My first job, and what I had to do, I had to go into the building and I had a little piece of paper and I put it in a little thing, a clock on the wall, and the clock said, beep, and then I started to work. It was a magical machine because I didn't know how to start. I just had to put the piece of paper in, and at 5 o'clock, people were gathering around the clock, still sweating, working very hard. But 5 o'clock, immediately it stopped working. A magical machine, we are missing it terribly, of course. People didn't know how to start. I was called to my boss. I had a boss even, a boss in Eindhoven. And my boss said, I want to talk to you about your prick clock behavior. Prikklokgedrag. I didn't know the word before. So I went to him, and it's a nice word for Scrabble. Anyway, it's a long word. I went to him and he said, Leen, in the morning when you arrive in the building, you clock. That's how you call it, you clock too early. And I said, too early? I said, how can I clock too early? I start at 7:15. He said, but yeah, you're supposed to put your piece of paper in the clock. It looked like this, about a piece of paper in the clock at 8 o'clock. So you're allowed to come into the building, thank you very much, and you can go to your box, which was called an office, and you can sit down there, but at 8 o'clock you come down and you do this. And I said, maybe at 5 o'clock again? Yes, he said happily. 5 o'clock you have to come down again. I said, shouldn't we hire somebody who does that for all the employees? He didn't understand. He was an accountant, like myself. And we were boring people, I can tell you that. But you are not. I just looked on the internet a couple of days ago, and I found a nice word that maybe fits all of you. It said, YWAP, YWAP, Y-I-W-A-P. Look it up. It means young, intelligent, with a purpose. Young, intelligent with a purpose, instead of with a duty. Because you can imagine that when you talk about sustainability, people sometimes talk about sustainability, they don't know what it means, but they talk about it. It means long-term orientation. That is all. It doesn't mean a green car or using less light or whatever. It also means treating your people nicely, not with a prick clock. Prick clock, that is a strange English word. That is not the right translation. In Dutch it is prick clock, but a prick clock, yeah, well, maybe. It's a clock for pricks. And that is, so could be useful, yes. People do sustainability often with a duty because they think they have to behave normal. Because being sustainable is nothing else, it's not difficult, than behave normal. We want to be treated like we treat other people. We treat other people like we want to be treated. We want to give this world to a next generation. So you better beware, because most of you, the average age of this audience is about 30, I would say. My average age is about 54. And I have children, the average age is 15. So you ensure a better world for my children. So beware. I am watching you. Because you have to think in a long-term. Long-term oriented people work with a passion. A passion is this. A purpose is this. A purpose is when you think, I have to be sustainable like many, many companies do. And they say, but we were already sustainable 10 years ago. We already were saving on light. Yeah, big deal. To cost cutting, that's what we call it. And there is a crisis, and we have to do a crisis. A crisis. Do you also read the Telegraph? Telegraph is a Dutch newspaper. Don't read it. Don't read it, don't read it. It's a horrible paper. But they teach us that there is a crisis. What crisis? What crisis? She has shoes on. She's not paying attention to me, but she has shoes on. She has shoes on. Some of you have a car. You have a lunch later on. It is dry in this building. What crisis? Shame on us. Shame on us. We are the most profitable country almost, the richest country in the world. What are we talking about? So when you are an entrepreneur with a purpose and a long-term orientation, I will help you, if that means anything to any entrepreneur. That's my passion. My passion is to help startups to keep going or to get going into the world. Let me get going with my presentation, by the way, because I have 65 slides that I have to tell to you. Yeah, you all know this. It is just another company. Who are we? That is a question that I always ask the people who work for me. Why are we here? Not in this room, but in this world. Why are you here? I can tell you, most people even don't know the answer. Why you are here. To make money? Yeah, sure. But why else? You have a purpose? Why are you here? Yesterday I had to give a presentation for a company called TENET. TENET, you know what that means? TENET is a company that they have wires, the wires. And then the electricity goes over the wires, they do the wires. Well, so what purpose can that have? So I said, what is your purpose? One of the guys, he said, we have a social purpose, we have to provide the world, and it was a nice story. I didn't know if he meant it or if he read it in this company brochure that was created by a very smart advertising agency. The new way of working starts here. Have you know that it's not the new way of working, it's the new way of working. The new way of working is old. The new way of working, people thought that they had to work out of their house. So everybody went home. No more traffic jams, so good news. People did whatever they could, but they did not realize that they were horribly missing the prick clock. And their colleagues as well. So now this woman, Melinda Myers from Google, who created a beautiful program called, what was it called? Anybody knows? Melissa Myers at Google, she created a program. Pursue Your Dream, it was called. Look it up on Google. Have you heard of Google? It's a company. They have a website, google.com. You can go there and type it in. Pursue your dreams. Talking about creativity, because I have to move on. I only have 7, 8 minutes. Creativity, this beautiful speech from the guy before, is true. Because creativity is at its peak, highest point with all of you, when you're 4. And then it goes down. Why is that? I can tell you, because we're not going to be interactive, of course. That cannot, because then I don't have enough time. It goes down because you have parents. Your parents raise you. I have 5 children. I raised my children to fit into society. Of course they cannot sing. Of course they cannot draw. They have to make money. They have to be in technical studies. Or they have to be good in math. Or maybe they can be a soccer player. But there's only 1 or 2 soccer players in the Netherlands that are good for making a lot of money. So we kill creativity. Then you go to school. You go to school. That is the most horrifying thing. That is what he said in his speech. And then it goes on and on and on. You go work for a company. You think you have rules. 80% of all the rules and regulations in this world don't matter. Yeah. When I come in a company, when I start a company, I always tell my people on the first day, we have rules and regulations in this company. Don't stick to them. Do whatever you want to do. Do whatever you think is good. It is impossible for people to do that because they have been trained their whole life, minus 4 years, to behave. I've been trained for 50 years to stand on that dot. So can you imagine how much trouble it cost me to stand here? I'm pulled toward that rule that I have to stand on the dot. I give you one exercise for tonight, or maybe tomorrow when you're back in your office, when you have an office, which I hope not. When you go into a meeting, it's a very difficult exercise, so remember it well. When you go into a meeting, take the chair of somebody else from now on. Yeah, I see the sweat breaking out on all of your foreheads because you think this must be a horrible exercise. You can also do it at home when you have children. I did it once. We had children, 5. They were sitting at the dinner table and I sat down on one of the children's chair. He did not sit down. He was standing beside me, waiting. I said, what are you waiting for? He said, you're sitting on my chair. I said, now listen well. This whole house is mine, and everything in it is mine. So also this chair. So sit on another chair. He didn't. It took me a lot of effort to make him sit in another chair. That is how difficult it is for people to be creative and for a change do something else. At Google, they created this program, Pursue Your Dreams. And Pursue Your Dreams is interesting because it tells that every employee can spend 20% of his or her time on things that they want to do themselves. 20%. So I went to Google in the airplane together with 4 CEOs of big insurance companies in the Netherlands. By the way, the most creative sector in the country. So they went with me to Google in the plane, and in the plane they were talking to each other. Which day would that be? 20% of 5 days. Remember the prick clock? It's 1 day. So I said, don't ask that question to Google. They will laugh at us, but they still asked it. People at Google didn't know, they didn't understand the question. They thought, who are these guys from Amsterdam, capital of Denmark? They didn't know anything. They were not completely intelligent themselves. The atmosphere at Google was interesting. The moment we stepped, or at least I felt it, onto the campus, the Googleplex, you could feel the energy. The energy was, het spatte er vanaf. This was Dutch for the non-Dutch people. I didn't know how to translate it that quickly. Because you could feel what all those people were doing. All those people at Google are creating their own companies in their minds. They're all creating their own stuff. They are working with their passion. And that is why this company, this is sparkling. This is the most important word in any organization, company, whatever it is, that it has a sparkle, that you feel it, that you feel the energy. And if you don't feel it in a company, if you don't feel it with yourself, get out of there. Get out of there. because it's a waste of time to be in a place where there is no energy. And when it's not in your body, you have to do something about that as well, about getting that energy. So the feeling, the sparkling was there. It's free. When I was at Origin, Origin was also in Eindhoven, we had 20,000 people, and I had to give an example because sparkling is free. I was the CEO of the company, and I thought on April 1st, I have to do a nice joke. So I took 2 little chairs and a little table with me and put it in the elevator. And a little telephone on my desk. So I was there at 7:30, I was sitting at my desk, my new office, and at 7:30 the first employee, the door opened, the employee came in and said, "Oh, sorry, am I disturbing you?" I said, "No, come into my office, sit down." So he sat down on the little chair in front of me. So I was in the elevator the whole day. I can tell you, it makes you sick, because it goes up and down. The door was very ugly elevators we had at Origin. And within 1 hour, the message spread through the company. The boss is in the elevator. The boss is in the lift. And maybe good for his career. People thought I was crazy doing that. But it was setting an example that we could do normal. Because quite often you have bosses in companies who think they are important. Huh? Get rid of them. Because they are not important. Turn the pyramid upside down. I only can do this one. Inspiration. Who or what inspires you? Okay, you're thinking about it. It's a difficult question, I know. Let me answer it for you. It can be anything. The light, music that he made, this picture, those 3 things, my sister, my mother, anything, any answer is good. But if you all think about it now in your mind, what or who inspires me? Sometimes you can think, I inspire myself. I hope you do inspire yourself. Because people get most energy out of their own dreams and inspirations. Building up a new company, writing a book, making music, whatever, running a marathon. That's what gives energy to people. Their own inspirations. Like also, in their head, they have a little voice that tells them, you cannot do this. You're not good at this. The book is not going to be a success. The music sounds awful. That's the little voice that you have in your head. And if you now think, what voice is he talking about? What is that voice? That's the voice. So you all have the voice in your head. Yeah, I only have 14 seconds. 14 seconds and 60 slides. I can only give you one message, and it is, go inspire yourself. That is the most precious thing. It gives you energy, and then you can build sustainable, long-term companies. All of you can. I wish you a lot of success with that. Thank you.